This episode is brought to you by Resy and American Express. Resy is a digital platform that connects restaurants to restaurant lovers by elevating dining experiences, providing original industry content, and helping to fill some of the country's most exciting dining rooms. Because restaurants have always been more than just places to eat. The amazing world of restaurants is just a few taps away in the Resy app and at resy.com.
This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. Healthcare professionals can lead their careers with LinkedIn. Discover jobs by specialty, preferred shifts, and even desired salary. From mental health therapists to radiology technicians, it's now faster and easier for healthcare professionals to find the right fit. Learn more at linkedin.com/healthcare. Side effects may include faster job placement, improved work-life balance, and increased career satisfaction.
Everyone's listening to this podcast. They hear all these guests come on. There are universes. You see your favorite food people with a few other of your favorite food people, but not everyone. Yeah. It's because we have our crews of people we vibe with.
This is Taste. I'm your host, Matt Rodbard. Jake Cohen returns to the studio for a really fun conversation. Jake's a talented cookbook author and most certainly is in the modern social media mix. His new book, Dinner Party Animal, is honestly just a joy to read. It offers complete party plans with recipes in the Jake Cohen style, smart, a little sweaty, and with fun and creativity at the center. We talk about what makes a great party and how to think creatively while the heat of the dinner party kitchen is roaring. I love what Jake is up to, and I hope you enjoy this conversation.
Also on the show, I speak with Griffin Owens and Basil Beshkov, two of the founders of Yuzu Co., a premium cold-pressed yuzu juice company based in Los Angeles. The Japanese citrus has become a prized ingredient around the world. And today on the show, Griffin and Basil go deep on why yuzu is so popular, building farmer relationships, and navigating hype.
Jake Cohen, welcome back to This Is Taste. How are you, my friend?
I am great.
I'm so excited to talk about Dinner Party Animal. I really love this book.
Thank you.
I've poured over it, and I see a lot of books. It's really busy right now. Your recipe writing is sick, dude.
Period. All I can say is, there are not a ton of things that I'm super confident on, but this happens to be one of them. I spend a lot of time and energy really focusing on both having the recipes come out great, which is just the baseline. That's the bottom foundation for a cookbook, is the recipes have to work and be delicious. But then from there, it's I want them to be fun. I want them, especially in this concept of being dinner parties, they all have to work out together and not make you want to pull your hair out. And also with the anecdotes, I really want people to feel like they're hearing me, in their ear, just whispering sweet nothings in their ear in the kitchen.
Yeah, the head notes are really, really funny, man. They're written in a very clear voice.
But I also I'm a clown. I don't take myself very seriously. I take the quality of my books very seriously, but nothing else.
Before we get to the book chat, I just want to know where you're dining out in New York these days.
Yeah, so I really have only done one new spot recently, and I actually have gone back again because I loved it so much. The Dynamo Room, the new spot literally next to Madison Square Garden from the Sunday in Brooklyn team. Yeah. It's this modern steakhouse, and it was excellent. And that's kind of all I want these days is either want a steakhouse, or I'll tell you where I really am every week. I'm at Hani's Bakery for
Bless.
Their
Co-sign.
turkey club. Their turkey club.
Yes.
There is something else. I'm going on work lunches and meetings. I'm taking dates there. It is the thing. Literally, this is my favorite thing to do, and they have to deal with me in every form. I'll leave the club on the weekend, so this will be Sunday morning around 8 a.m.
Yeah.
And I'll text Miro and Shilpa and I'll be I'm coming. And it's one time I showed up with this lover where I have sunglasses still on, haven't slept. I'll show up with friends. One time, Benny Blanco and I showed up with like 15 people. It was like us with BJ Novak and Jesse Ware. It's like,
Fun.
you never know, but I'm always at Hani's.
I love what they do, especially with moving to sandwiches too and having that really be a big part of what they're doing, not just the pastry case.
Oh, and we can talk because I'm doing, for the book, obviously all of my friends have like cool spots. We're doing like custom things from the book there. So there's going to be a cake at Hani's from Dinner Party Animal, which I'm really excited.
Oh, cool. I'll look for that. Well, Jake, your intro is wild stuff. I mean, you've got Katie Couric, Doug Emhoff, Benny and Selena, your boy Alex Edelman, all breaking challah in your apartment. Like, how do your dinner parties come together? Because it feels like some entertaining books are kind of more of a conceit than reality. And yours are clearly like based on reality.
Yeah.
You throw great parties and you have great, cool people hanging out.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I pinch myself sometimes. Like, I think it's really cool, but I think it's just a testament to my community where I meet really cool people, but they're really kind, incredible people, and they introduce me to other kind and incredible people.
Yeah.
And of course, sometimes I lose my mind because I'm a huge fan of their work or their art. But really at the core, the art is separate because there are plenty of people I meet who I'm a huge fan of their work and we just don't vibe. And I can promise you, it doesn't matter how much of a fan I am, you're not getting an invite to the table if you can't like vibe with the crew.
Yeah, it's important when you're selecting the guest list. So how do you do that when you're thinking about your apartment or wherever you're hosting a party? And also, Jake, how do you think about building this menu? Because your book is based around pairings and making it all flow together, which is so difficult. I think a lot of books attempt to do a dinner party scene, and then like one section is called dinner party, and it feels sometimes forced.
Completely. I think that was the inspiration behind this book. Is I had done 2 books that very luckily were successful, and one of the big pieces of feedback I'd get from people was, I love this recipe of yours and I make it every time I host. What should I serve with it?
Yeah.
And that kept coming up. And so for me, I really actually start with the curation of the people. So I'll start with like a core number of like, I want to see this person and this person. And then starting to build off of that. Who in our friend group, who can do what. I also love to sometimes leave a few chairs and being like, I love you. I want you to bring someone you love to the table.
Okay, I like that. That's a
which
great tip.
I mean, it's not a test, but it's nothing is a test. But it's like, I trust that someone's going to bring someone that I'm going to then be obsessed with. And oftentimes then becomes part of the crew.
Give me an example of somebody.
That's literally Jessie Ware. Obviously, incredible singer. Her music is my sex playlist. And has the most incredible podcast with her mother, Table Manor.
Oh yeah, it's good.
But I met her through Benny, and I actually wasn't really familiar with her music when we met. We just started to vibe as friends, and then she invited me. She had like these crazy 3 nights sold out at Terminal 5, and I went, and then I was like, oh,
yeah,
I'm a fan.
Jesse's slept on a little in the States, sometimes like a little
by
bit.
Straight people. Yeah,
well, indeed. Well, like reframed.
Yeah.
By straight people, it's definitely slept on. Yeah. Okay, I cut you off a little because I need to get the guest list, but really, when you're thinking about the menu at these parties, how are you getting there?
So we start there, and then there's a vibe. So sometimes it'll be something that just comes up in conversation. I have a crazy memory. Like it is, it's probably one of the reasons that I've been so successful is I'm very good with names, I'm very good with faces, I'm very good with little, like, aspects of someone told me something happened to me. I literally was at the U.S. Open and it was Pride night, so naturally I ran into like a million men I've slept with, and I ran
Any
into
tennis players?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Not yet. But listen, Djokovic is looking real good right about now. And I ran into this lover of mine, and we were talking, and I remember he had said something specific about his about what he eats and what he doesn't. And I mentioned it and had a little callback, and he was so taken aback by my memory that I remembered that, because it's thoughtfulness. So if I'm looking to curate a meal for a few people, I start with something that's come up in conversation or something I know about them and what they eat or what they don't eat. And then I build from there. And so you create the vibe. And then it's like, all right, who would go well with here? Who's around? I'm actually doing this right now tonight. I'm doing a dinner party with Ryan Nordheimer, the social media like explosion who does the apartment cafes, and he's always throwing dinner parties. So it's like, let's throw one. And So I started inviting, like, who are some people that are in my crew that I want him to meet? So it's like Adam Richman.
Dude, I love Adam.
Love Adam.
Adam's so great.
Zach Neiman,
Yeah.
incredible, obviously, like, also social media based cook. So it's like starting to build from there and being like, who will vibe? And then you test and you see. Sometimes it goes terribly wrong. I'm not acting like I'm perfect all the time. Sometimes people meet, or sometimes people know each other and I didn't know they know each other, and there's beef. That's the thing. Everyone's going to listen to this podcast. They hear all these guests come on. There are universes. You see your favorite food people with a few other of your favorite food people, but not everyone.
Yeah.
It's because we have our, like, crews of people we vibe with. I'll say within the food world, I'm closest with, like, Ben Gingy is my best friend.
New book coming out.
Gorgeous.
Great.
I'm very close with Carolina Galen. I, like, bullied her into coming to Christmas last year. We did a big, like, Jewish Christmas at Benny's in LA, and I was like, you're flying to LA, you're coming.
Well, Jake, I want to, before we get to more of the book, I want to talk about your professional cooking career. Because when I was prepping for this interview, I didn't quite know that. I knew you have, like, deep editorial experience working in food media, but I didn't realize you came from, like, the restaurant kitchen. Tell me about some of the spots you worked at and really how that kind of transitioned into doing editorial.
So really, to put it, like, quite bluntly, like, this is always what I wanted to do. I always knew I'd be literally in this chair. And
you told me so.
Yeah.
At ICP, we had coffee like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And you were like, you said that. And I was like, man, nice.
I listen, I'm quite delusional. But I went straight from high school to the Culinary Institute of America and knew, like, I wanted to just really hone in my skills as best I could. So first thing I did was, like, I took, like, the hardest externship I could, which was Danielle, back when it was 3 Michelin stars, and it was just grueling.
How?
The hours, like, I was working, like, I was making minimum wage, but, like, the paychecks actually weren't bad because I was working like 80 hours some weeks, which was intense. And I was doing a lot of stuff with Feast and Fête, which was their offsite catering. Mm-hmm. So I was running around, and the hours were insane. And you'd have to, like, I remember this was during an election season, and I was cooking a breakfast for the Republican candidate in the morning, and then at night. We had a shiva we were catering. It was just like it was nonstop, but it was really great. And then my last year, I was a little goody two shoes, and I had a ton of AP credits from high school that they took, and so I had a very light senior year of my bachelor's program, and so I started working part-time during the week at ABC Kitchen.
Oh, cool.
And then when I graduated, went full-time on the line there, which was under Dan Kluger. I think was still to this day one of the most brilliant chefs I know. I think Loring Place is one of my favorite spots in the city. The way
consistent.
The way he approaches food when it comes to seasonality, when it comes to acid and heat and fat and comfort, it really is this, like, fresh spin on American comfort food. Has been a huge inspiration to me as a cook. But it was not actually, like, what I wanted to do. And I'm someone that, like, if I'm not in it, I'm out. Yeah. So I was there for a bit, and I, like, started to really feel like this need to move into media that I knew was always the goal. So this was pre-Conde lawsuit. So I took an unpaid internship at Saveur magazine. Okay. Which was, I mean, I feel like everyone who's been in this chair on your podcast at one point has done the Saveur internship.
Oh, definitely. Fully agree.
Wasn't going to take no for an answer. So I stayed for the internship, and then they hired me on part-time, and then eventually hired me onto the masthead, and I just worked my way up. Yeah. And then the second I could bounce, because listen, we're not going to name names. It was not a great experience.
It's a tough hang at Saveur in certain eras. I've heard many, we've said on the record, off the record.
Everyone is also, like, underpaid, incredibly stressed. The print was on the decline. Yeah. And they took it out. Everyone took it out on each other in a way that I looked for mentorship. I was 20 when I started at Saveur. And, like, I was 20. So probably 22, and, like, I was looking for mentorship within this world.
You were learning from toxicity in some ways.
Yeah.
And I've been in those situations early in my career too, and it's, you kind of can't recover until you realize that you're in it and you have to pull yourself out and you see other mentors.
And then I jumped ship because Andy Berengani had left Tasting Table for Bon Appetit, and the opening came up, and I jumped at it. And they hired a 22-year-old.
Yeah.
And it was the most incredible experience ever. I really, really, really loved being in media. And at the same time, I feel like I was one of the few people that really respected social media, which was on the up and up. And there was this first age of Instagram influencers that were the people that would just like post gross cheese pulls.
Gross to us now, but then it was like
then it was everything.
It was traffic.
And I started this initiative at Tasting Table that was really huge. I actually don't think I've ever talked about it publicly. We would throw these dinners. We had an event space, and I would throw cooking classes for about 20 influencers, and none of them had these backgrounds. And all of a sudden, this was the beginning of all of them tagging, Tasting Table tagging me, learning how to cook, networking. It was almost like making it like a little hype house around me.
A decade before that was a term.
And I would create, and there would always be like a photo station where I'd make there was some focus on the night. We were either making fresh pasta or we were baking or XYZ, and I would go out. And it was really, I just always knew that was going to be where I was headed. And so I remember I had like 70,000 followers, got a book deal, tiny advance.
Yeah.
But I knew this was going to be where I was.
But then there was gasoline thrown on the fire at some point. I think during the pandemic, in particular, you were baking a lot, and they were so joyful and so smart. I remember watching a lot of your cakes that you were making.
Yeah.
And
well, I had eras, and the big thing is
have
that
eras.
it started with there was an avocado toast era, there was a fresh pasta era, there was a garlic bread era. I did that roasted garlic bread, and then like the internet went crazy, and it became like everyone was squeezing garlic like pimples. And then I did my upside down cakes, which were really a big thing that popped off. And anytime something pops off, I'll ride the wave for a hot second, and then I just quit it cold turkey because I'm just never going to be defined by one thing.
It's really smart, Jake. I mean, it's clearly you have the real digital savvy to make this all work for you, but you also have the heart of a real home cook.
Yeah.
And I think that those are like the secret ingredients, pun intended, to work online as a food creator.
Completely.
What era are you entering now?
Oh, that's a great question. The funny thing is like Dinner Party Animal really is the intersection of where I am right now, which is half party animal, half dinner party aficionado. So I would say this year has been definitely my party girl, 365 party girl era, which has been really fun. And I think it's just I've been about freedom and exploration of who I am and what I want. And honestly, I think the next era is going to be like podcast host or something where I just get to talk about more than food or like just like creating the recipes, but the recipes have always been this conduit for connection.
Oh, are you launching a pod?
There might be one in the works.
I like it. But the more the merrier in this genre.
Oh, for sure.
If you're good, you're good, and people will listen, you listen, you know.
But also it's like I think I've also said, like, I just have these different things where I think in the next year I'll either be on, like, Summer House on Bravo or competing on Survivor. We'll see.
Are those audition tapes in?
Whatever. No, but, like, if it's meant to be, it's gonna happen. I
want you on Survivor. So on Survivor, are you pretty confident you would do well?
Yeah, and I don't even really watch the show.
Okay.
I haven't watched since, like, Rupert. Like, old.
Rupert, yeah.
But I just know.
I look forward to seeing you. I think you're a more Amazing Race guy.
I could do any of it.
I could see you on that.
Listen, whoever's calling, we'll see what's happening.
I love it. I think you've got a great strategy here. Today's episode of This Is Taste is brought to you by Grow Therapy. If you're navigating anxiety, depression, relationship changes, or something else, you deserve care that meets you where you're at. Grow Therapy is designed to help you find a therapist who fits your needs and supports the way you want to feel. Grow makes it easier to find the right therapist for you. They connect you with thousands of independent, licensed therapists across the U.S., offering both virtual and in-person sessions. You can search by insurance, provider specialty, treatment methods, and more to find a therapist who is right for you. Whatever challenges you're facing, Grow Therapy is here to help. Sessions average about $21 with insurance, and some pay as little as $0 depending on their plan. Visit growtherapy.com/taste today to get started. That's growtherapy.com/taste. Availability and coverage vary by state and insurance plan. We talk about health a lot on the show. You know, protein maxing is all the rage. We're on the NA beer train, of course. And probiotic sodas, some call those millennial Metamucil. But I want to talk about skin health for a second. Everybody should be thinking about skin health. It's important, and I look to OneSkin, the world's first skin longevity company, for a little help. Now, I've used OneSkin's OS1 hydrating sunscreen for walking around New York City in the blazing sun. I wish I had OneSkin while traveling through sun-soaked Bologna on an epic gelato crawl. And for the record, you cannot miss Santo Stefano and Cavour. Those are my gelato picks. By focusing on the cellular aspects of aging, OneSkin keeps your skin looking and acting younger for longer. For a limited time, you can try OneSkin with 15% off using promo code TASTEPOD at oneskin.co. That's 15% off using code TASTEPOD. Well, let's get to some of the menus. I think one that really stuck out is brunch. Because a lot of us who are listening, and myself personally, that's a common dinner party. I mean, that's like one of the, or meal party that we host. And it's really fun. It's obviously at a time of day when I think everyone is like lively and awake, and it's a great time to catch up and have social moments. But the food can be really challenging. I think like you get the bagels and the lox, you can go run out and bring that, and that's cool. But like there's much more that you can do. How did you think about brunch?
Yeah, so I have 2 menus for that, and really I did think about the different levels. So there's a bagel brunch, and I'm doing that. I'm hosting Breakfast this year, and I'm going to bake 100 bagels because it's actually not that hard. It's time. All these things are time, but really it's one of the much easier than challah. I believe it's like, great. You can bake the bagels, cure your gravlax, do all the things, or you could bake the bagels and buy your lox. Or you could buy everything and just make this. I do this topping salad that that was a really cool idea. To give myself a pat on the back.
No, you should. It's great.
It's all the things. It's sliced tomatoes, cucumbers, red onion, and then you make this lemon caper dressing and drizzle it all on top. So really, it's everything that you would put on a bagel, all done in one pre-dressed salad. That works just really well also as like a summery salad.
Yeah, because you can definitely pull some of these recipes out and use it as one recipe, of course.
The entire book works that way.
I mean, it's a mood board essentially. And you pull out recipes as needed. I like this rule. You have a 1 dessert rule for cocktail parties.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. It's really smart.
I know. I just have done too many now where I always want to make something because I want it. I have a huge sweet tooth. It's like my kryptonite. Yeah. I'll say I don't have a very addictive personality with exception of sugar. So I wanted to do something that was really fun. And I really think that this was like one of my favorite things ever. It's these raspberry goat cheese bars because I wanted to feel kind of like
so good.
I wanted to feel like with cheesecake, but also like something that goes with a cheese board. And so you make one kind of like a cookie crust in the food processor, press part of it in, and then you spread on jam, crumble on goat cheese, and then crumble the rest of the crumb as like a streusel, and you bake it. It comes out so good. But I know that everyone's going to bring dessert. That it happens. People don't want to show up empty-handed, and they're either going to bring wine or it's this interesting thing because I only have recently started drinking. I'm 31, and this is like I've only just entered my drinking era.
All right. How's it going?
I mean, again,
what's the drink choice?
Oh, I'm a martini. Like we're going in. It's like I'm like a Negroni or a martini.
Okay.
I love an espresso martini.
Yeah.
Love an espresso martini.
Is this like an era, the drinking era, and you'll maybe cut it?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Who knows? I just never. I was very like I was just a big pothead in my 20s and just never drank. And now I am all about just like not restricting anything, but doing everything in moderation.
Sure, that's important. That's important to note here. I feel like
and
moderation.
It just become like socially as I party more, all the stuff. It's just like nice to not have such like hard rules.
No, totally.
Also, I will say, I think the bigger thing is I just never really had control of my gut for my 20s.
Yeah.
And as I've controlled my diet, it's been a lot more forgiving. Adding an alcohol on top of everything else, I think was the mess.
Yeah.
And now that I kind of have everything in control, like once in a while, like having a night out drinking is not the end of the world.
You're talking about the way you balance your diet.
Yeah.
You're talking about your gut. You're like thinking about health and
talking
wellness.
about fiber. I'm talking about what are my friends like huge on like low FOD.
Yeah.
And I refuse to like abide by it
It's
completely.
tough as a recipe developer,
but
low FOD.
I have been more conscious of like when I'm eating what, and it's been like really huge.
What's been the biggest breakthrough when kind of changing your diet?
A lot, again, it really comes down to dairy, and the other side of it is the fibers. Like I was so like health conscious because I like grew up in this like nanny type household where weight was always talked about.
Yeah.
And so you always want to be having like healthy whole wheat foods, and but these are also things that are incredibly tough on your stomachs. So having the balance of all that is like
So
super
dairy can be a tough hang for you sometimes.
Yeah, uncultured dairy at least.
I see. Good point. So it's choosing dairy correctly and maybe moderating it slightly.
But also, it's like now that I like this also ties in again. Everything comes together now that I'm this like party animal. If I'm going to the club for 13 hours, like I'm not eating a fresh mozzarella caprese sandwich right before.
You're getting some honey soft serve. Let's get real.
That is so true. Really, no. But that's that's the reward.
That's a reward.
That's the
after 13
reward.
hours of sweating it out. There's a really great recipe, this pistachio salad dressing, which I think the combination is very sharp. But you write in the head note that it is inspired by a Hudson Valley restaurant, and it's the only restaurant that you'll gatekeep. And I'm going to ask you this, the favor for our listeners. Keep it here on the podcast. What's the restaurant in the Hudson Valley? I live there. I'm so curious about this restaurant. Tell me the story.
Okay, so here's the story. So I love this menu. This menu is called That Was Tonight.
It's a good
and
menu.
It's really a menu you could throw together in like 2 hours flat.
Yeah.
And this is a salad dressing that came about from this place I used to always go to before I owned a home in the Hudson Valley, which not anymore, but I would always stay in Kingston.
Yeah.
And I started staying in the Rondout and just fell in love with that area, Kingston. And we used to always go to what's like the Guido's.
Guido's.
We used to always go to Guido's, which obviously has such like a New York charm to it, and was like really good. And then there was that place Rosie's General opened,
of course.
And I was talking to them because there was a connection. We had a bunch of mutual friends, but I can't remember what the connection was. And we were just chatting, and he's like, well, you know, where you really got to go to is right down the block. You have to go to Graziano's Downtown Cafe.
Yeah.
And we went to Graziano's, and it's just this like one middle-aged Italian man who's making fresh pasta and cooking everything. And the chicken parm with fresh pasta is it's one of the best things ever.
I love that you're calling out Kingston. It's been a theme on our show. I try to hype up Kingston as much as I can. I think it is the best.
The Hamptons are dead.
Hamptons are dead.
Hamptons are dead.
And for food, pound for pound, it's the best food city in New York State.
100%.
Kingston is.
But it's the whole thing. Is you go to the obviously everyone's like, oh, where do you like to go for your like vacation? And it's the Hudson Valley. I mean, I love Fire Island.
Sure.
But I'm not eating on Fire Island. It's like, oh, there's one Long Island deli. I have 3 quarts of low-fat chicken salad and a spoon, and I call it a day.
Graziano's downtown. Great call. I love that recommendation.
Yeah.
And tell us about the salad dressing that was inspired by that.
They did this really interesting, like we ordered a bunch of salads. I went for my 30th birthday, actually. My birthday's New Year's Eve. So it's
fun.
I had a bunch of friends staying at our house, and we went there. I took a giant 10 milligram edible. We ordered everything for the table, and we got a couple of salads, and they were like, do you want to do all Caesar? Do you want to split it up with the pistachio salad? And we did that, and they add olives and grapes to the salad. It's very
fun.
Eclectic.
Yeah.
But the dressing I thought was really cute. So when I was thinking of a recipe to do for this menu, I wanted to do I don't just want to do the norm. And so I wanted to do something that was kind of an emulsified Caesar-ish dressing, but the pistachios add such meatiness to it. Mm-hmm. That's really nice.
Really, really nice touch there. Jake, tell me about having a Sunday moment at a dinner party. I talked to Khushbu Shah about this recently, about how just all restaurants need to have a Sunday on their menu. It's it's like a no-brainer.
Shout out to Dan Kluger.
Yeah,
what he did at ABC, and then at Loring when it comes to Sunday is huge.
And having multiple Sundays on a menu is really smart. So that's a little bit of a side, but you are proposing to have a Sunday moment.
Yes, a Sunday moment. Oh, and then the other shout out is Cafe Pana, because if you see me at Cafe Pana eating avocado sundae, I'm on a date.
So should they approach?
Always. I love, there's nothing better with.
It's wonderful.
So here's the deal. I hate formality. I'm not the kind of I'm not Martha. I love Martha. I'm obsessed with Martha. I was blessed enough to go up to Bedford and do her show, and she showed up. I showed up. She was in her pajamas and made me a cappuccino and fried me an egg,
She's so
and
cool.
it was. And she couldn't have been more complimentary to me on her show and my book, and that was like a huge thing because I was so nervous. But I'm not looking to be Susie Homemaker, and I'm not looking to have this like. Everything is so plated beautifully. Everything in this book really is like family style version. And what I love to do, and this is something that I do, doesn't matter how famous the person is, doesn't matter ages, is at the end of the night, take everyone from the table and you come back to the kitchen. And I always have everyone huddled around my kitchen
We're always
island.
drawn to the kitchen at the end of a party or even during the party.
And I love it. So literally what I do is, this is also from that same menu, that was tonight. I make a peanut butter hot fudge that comes together so quickly. I make a quick peanut brittle, which is, it's a really good recipe, really great. Funny enough, I'll give you, it might be out by the time that this airs, but I did a bunch of promo. Obviously, I'm very close with Benny Blanco.
Yeah.
We did a bunch of like promo videos for the book, and we did one where we built this sundae in a Grammy.
Fun.
And
they probably hold a nice Sunday.
They held a very
sizable.
nice
like
Sunday.
it'd be like a
I don't know
Sunday for
the
two.
food safety about what metals we're eating out of, but God bless.
I mean, that's
God bless.
Yeah.
And so it's like I made the fudge, made the brittle, and then I just pull out a ton of ice cream. So it's like I always get. I'm sure everyone like on this podcast is on the Jenny's press list. I know I'm friends with Jenny.
Yeah.
So literally, like I did this with Jenny. I had Jenny over for dinner a few months ago, and I did just this, where you come around the kitchen and you do dessert around the island, where I pull out all the ice cream I had, and I do one of two things. We do sundaes, or I'll typically have a pound cake in the freezer that I've made, slice it, and I griddle it in butter.
Yeah.
And just serve it up with some honey and a scoop of ice cream.
Having that pound cake at the ready is so smart.
So smart. But
Griddle
the
it.
same thing with the fudge. I keep a thing of the fudge in the freezer. The brittle is great in the pantry at all times, or it comes together in no time. And you just let everyone kind of build their own thing, do their own thing. And it feels like so communal. And it really is this like, it's a little moment of intimacy.
Yeah. Katie Couric pops up in the book a lot.
Yeah.
And you cooked with her at her Hamptons house.
Yeah.
Sounds like she was like tackling the grill in like a kind of a nice way.
Yeah.
And you have a recipe inspired by Katie's grill skills, but you went to the stovetop.
I went to the stovetop. Yeah, she is. I adore her. Like we met literally again through Instagram. She used to always just like DM me because
Yeah.
she loves food and she loves food
She does.
people. And eventually she kind of bullied me into coming over, which TBH, that's actually how Benny and I met too.
Yeah.
I had no idea who he was. This was like 2020 and he like DM'd me like, "You're my hero." I was like,
Aw.
"Who is this man?" And then next thing you know, I was doing Shabbat at his place in LA and we became super close.
Are they looking for like a little bit of for you to cook for them? Like a slight bit?
Not for them, but with them.
With them, okay.
I think that's the difference.
That
That's an
is.
interesting thing I've never thought about, but that's a big difference of why I think the walls come down so quickly is because you're looking for that shared moment of intimacy in terms of cooking with someone, which to be totally clear, it's like, I talk about this a lot. Like that is the most intimate thing you can do. And I don't cook for money.
Yeah.
I just don't want to cook for other people. I don't want to have a restaurant where I do that.
Yeah.
But with Katie, we started just like hanging out. We also have a lot of mutual friends that we learn. So our communities overlap a lot. So we did like everything from like, we had this crazy date night where I took her, she wanted to go see Oh Mary. So we went to go see
fun.
Oh Mary.
Yeah.
Or if I'm in the Hamptons staying with other friends, I'll hit her up and be like, "Let me come by and raid your garden." And I went over and we did this beautiful dinner. And it was really sweet. And she did this grilled fish and she made this quick olive dressing and it was just like chopped olives with capers and herbs and red onion.
She's nice in the kitchen. She's got skills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I took that as like Katie's olive salad and I put it over a steamed whitefish in a menu that's called Mediterranean spa food.
I thought that was a very smart framing of doing like healthier, like lower impact foods.
Yeah.
And steaming fish is something that I feel we don't talk about enough.
Completely.
Steaming fish is amazing, and having this great tamponade style sauce on top of it is brilliant. Speaking of brilliant, you have really thought deeply about the fruit salad, and you make some choices. And I'm for all of them. I mean, I've not made this salad. It sounds really good.
Yeah.
Honeydew, kiwi, and grapes. That's like the base of it. But you add this kind of a dressing to the fruit salad. So we don't think about adding a honey-based dressing to fruit salads often. I think people just we cut fruit and put it on the table for brunch or for dinner or dessert, wherever it may be. But you have a real point of view here with the fruit salad.
Yeah.
Let's go there.
And funny enough, I ended up kicking myself for this because Ziki, Ben Gingy's wife, who's the co-author of their new book, did a fruit salad in their book that they came over and made, and they added all these beautifully deeply toasted almonds to it.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, I missed something, which I love. I love when I get that feeling. I did this as this menu. It's so funny. I call it Green Machine. It's a monochromatic green menu. And I did it first. It's funny. I first tested it at my friend's apartment because I was doing this dinner with Isaac Mizrahi, the fashion designer, and Myra Kalman, the illustrator.
Oh, yeah.
And I just wanted something that was really at the cusp of a season of spring into summer. And I wanted something that was light and bright. And I do these cucumber cups that are filled with this avocado, apple, and radish salad.
Cool.
And then this yogurt roasted salmon with caramelized leeks. There's this big farro and cabbage salad. These white beans braised chard. And then for dessert, I was like, what is green? What should I do as green? But I wanted it also to be really light and bright. And I was like, you know what? I'm done overthinking it. We're going to do a fruit salad.
Yeah.
And I chose only green fruits, which happen to also be my favorite fruits to do, other than a really good summer peach.
Yeah, I was gonna say peach has got to be on it.
Peaches.
Good
but,
answer.
I wanted to really zhuzh it up, and this was something that actually happened in Fire Island. I had another friend that would do this constantly, where he'd make almost a salad dressing to put on stone fruit that was really honey balsamic.
Yeah.
And it was really nice, and it just added that bit of acidity and that extra bit of sweetness depending on how ripe your fruit is. And so I made this really beautiful mint lime dressing to go on, ton of honey.
Yeah.
And it's
a
so
brilliant
simple.
do a green fruit salad. It's so smart.
Yeah.
I'm into that idea. And also Isaac and Myra, cookbook authors themselves. That's a good crowd to do a recipe test with.
Listen, there's always a good crowd when I'm recipe testing. It's always a good crowd.
Take me through the shtetl chic menu. Clever Ashkenazi food all the way.
Yeah.
But how do you you've written you wrote a book called Jewish.
Yeah.
And so this has been your wheelhouse for previous works. This book is certainly not that. It goes all over the map for food, but you're kind of coming back to your roots, but you're calling it shtetl chic.
Yeah, it's just something that's so true to me, which is that this book has everything, and yet it's still a me book. So you have these huge elements of Jewish food and culture throughout. And I love Eastern European food. I think we're really having this renaissance of it in America and especially New York, especially with chefs like Jeremy Solomon and the girls from Dasha 1946 who inspired my love of medovik, of the Russian honey cake. And I started to think all right, this is really my easy version of a lot of the Eastern European classics. So I do a version of, I call it unstuffed cabbage, which is actually started as my summer cut recipe because it's just so good macro wise that I used to make. Benny makes it too all the time.
Yeah.
It's just you take all of the aspects of a stuffed cabbage and turn it into a giant baked rice.
Yeah.
Really also kind of inspired by my love of Middle Eastern cooking and things like Tibet. This was how can I take that vibe and marry the two together?
Yeah.
Instead, I love a pig in a blanket. I think I have a pig in a blanket in every book I've done.
Oh, yeah.
So this one I do kielbasa in a blanket.
Oh, smart.
And instead,
Oversized.
since it's so big, what I do is I end up cutting them thinner into chips. So they bake up into these really delicious chips that you then
bite size.
Bite size.
Cool.
And then you dip it and I make a quick dressing with with vodka. I add vodka into the sauce, which is really nice. And this there was another recipe that was inspired also by Jeremy Solomon because he does this salad dressing that's rich with caraway seeds. And I always loved that.
That's the salad at his Brooklyn spot.
Yes,
I love
yes.
that salad so much.
At Augie's.
At Augie's, yeah. That salad is so
It's a
classic.
great salad. So I love the idea, and I did a roasted beets, and what I do is I treat it almost like an Indian tarka, where I bloom the caraway and garlic in oil, and then I and pour all of that hot caraway oil over the beets to dress. And then I just spoon it over seasoned sour cream.
And these are like roasted beets?
Roasted beets.
Yeah.
So these are all simple dishes with just like little twists. And then for dessert, I call it a zaftig honey cake, because it's making a traditional honey cake. It's so much work, and you have to make all these individual layers and do this stack and stack and stack. And instead what I did is I made a brown butter honey batter, spread it onto a half sheet pan, bake it as a one little cake, like you're making a jelly roll. And then I cut them into 4 rectangles and just stack them with like a sweetened sour cream whipped cream. And in the end, it's the same vibe, and it's delicious, and it takes you no time.
I'm going to stick with pastry because you write the perfect chocolate cake recipe, as you call it.
Yes.
And let's just shout out your photographer, Matt.
Matt Taylor Gross.
Matt Taylor Gross.
Same
Dude,
photographer
Matt
the whole
Taylor
time.
Gross, you killed it with this photo.
Yeah.
It's like we see a lot of cake photos, right, in cookbooks. This is like a really nice cake photo.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it's really nice. And the
really
cake
good.
looks cool. So tell me about the cake.
It's something that I've just been working on forever.
Okay.
Like in terms of like a birthday, and it would be a family birthday or a niece's birthday or a friend's birthday, and I would be always making chocolate cakes and always tweaking and turning. It's like, all right, how much butter? Do I brown the butter first? Do I do oil? Do I do this? Do I do that? Using ganache. And again, there are definitely elements of where's my inspiration. And I think I've always loved Stella Parks and her cake recipes, and Ina's chocolate cake, and there are a couple more, and they're all elements or techniques from each that I've loved, that I've married over the years into this Frankenstein perfect chocolate cake.
Yeah, and it has raspberries.
And well, that's my whole thing.
So that's what drew me in, because you make a choice. It's like the perfect chocolate cake, period, raspberries, period. So like that is amazing, because I fully agree that raspberries and chocolate cake are perfect.
Yeah. So the main thing is like I wanted a super moist cake.
Yeah.
I wanted the filling to be some kind of gelled fruit, because I wanted to add the acidity and the sweetness and a little bit of brightness, so it's not overly rich. Because there's nothing worse than a really incredible chocolate cake and you have 2 bites and you're like, oh, I can't. And then for the frosting, it has to be ganache. I'm over whipped buttercreams. I'm over all of that.
Yeah.
It has to be.
What has the intensity of the
ganache.
chocolate that you want in that?
The texture.
And the texture too.
I need that texture to be, and I'll really rest in peace in the West Village. Mazedar's Devil and Ganache was the true blueprint for me. It was, my grandmother lived like 2 blocks away, and we would always meet for a coffee and share a slice of the Devil and Ganache chocolate cake,
fun.
and it was like our tradition.
What would you talk about?
Everything, what show she's seen. She was like, I took the bus yesterday, and I was talking with Blythe Danner. Do you know Blythe Danner takes the bus? Like, she was this poor single mother from Brooklyn who worked her way up to Fifth Avenue, and she was like one of my best friends, and she loved New York, and she loved culture, and she was always going to the newest show and the newest restaurant.
And it had opinions, I'm sure.
And she had opinions on everything.
So great. And this cake, like, it seems like the kind of cake you want to, like, it's a keeper for listeners of the show who want to buy the book. It's like the one you want to pull out.
I keep saying, like, buy the book just for the cake.
Yeah, no doubt.
There are 2 things that I think are going to be the big draws. So obviously, most of these menus are every day, but I do a full Thanksgiving feast.
Yes,
and
you do.
Each menu comes with your grocery list and your timeline.
Yeah.
So the ability to, I would pay $35 just to have the list written out of like what do I need to order for Thanksgiving every year.
Well, that's truly what like real professional chefs, they don't need to look at the methods, they just need to look at the list. That's pretty much what it comes down to.
Yeah.
You can kind of figure out the rest. It's all about the list. Tell us about your TV show.
Jake Makes It Easy on A&E and also streaming on Hulu. It's this really fun, I always wanted like that old school Food Network stand-in star.
Yeah.
And Rachel Ray, who was obviously, I was raised on 3 women. And those 3 women were Rachel Ray, Giada De Laurentiis, and Ina Garten. And they are my queens. And I was really honestly like shook because Rachel and Giada both blurbed the new book. And Rachel was such a huge supporter of mine. I did her show for my first book as like a pre-record. And then this was actually, I would say, really the moment I knew things were happening. And I'm not a very emotional person, and I've done a lot of woo-woo retreats to help cry more. But this was my launch day of Jewish, and I was watching the Rachel Ray show, and I had just done this pre-record, so I wanted to see it. And she sets it up, and she's saying, "Hi, this is Jake Cohen. This is his new book," and pretty much starts going off on this tangent of how it's one of the best books she's seen in a long time.
I love that.
And I started hysterically crying, and I just knew. It's like I've always known I was meant to be a star. And she went from being such a supporter, and I did her show a few more times, and then she reached out and she's like, "Hey, I want to give you your own." And so she's the executive producer of the show, and
That's
it's been
incredible.
really, really huge. And it's fun. It's easy.
I feel like there's chatter online that the stand-in stir needs to come back.
Yeah.
And you're doing it, and everyone needs to watch your show. But there's like an exhaustion with the competition right now. And I was just on
You're
a panel at a
telling
food
me.
festival with a producer and some Top Chef, chefs, and we were like talking about this topic. And like I think like people don't want competition all the time. There's plenty of great moments
Yeah,
for
for sure.
competition.
When Top Chef calls because they want a guest judge, like,
Yo.
I'm coming.
No, Top Chef is a brilliant show, and the ratings are getting better by the year, which is incredible. But like, we want stand-in stir, and so are you seeing your viewers grow? And do you feel like this is a real thing?
I think it's interesting because it's speaking to an audience that we've been walking away from, where I think of who's watching my TV show and who's watching my social content are two different audiences.
Yeah.
And my goal is to always bridge that gap. I will say it's like I meet people all the time, and I am for these like cool 30-year-old girls and their mothers. And
Yeah.
I am this
Both.
I'm both, but also I'm now this connector for these two generations that get to bond over me, which is really fun because they come together to my book signings because they send my videos to each other, and to have that is really special. So to create a piece of content that both was so important for me, because this is literally why I do what I do, was watching these stand-in stir shows and seeing something and being like, I can do that. I want to be like that. And it is interesting because this is a female-dominated world, and I will never have the relationship to my audience that like Meredith from Wishbone Kitchen or Allison Roman or Molly Baz. I will never have that connection to the audience because they're predominantly female. And when you have that kind of bond with a female personality, there's a level of I want to emulate them. I want to be like them. I want to live like them. I want to dress like them. And I'll never have that because we don't share the same lives. And there's a level of voyeurism that they like that I am a gay man. But at the same time, it doesn't change that it's like the biggest honor to be able to do what I do.
I like that sentiment. I think it's articulate, and it's important to realize that you can't have everything.
Yeah.
And every audience member won't connect to you the same way that they would with Allison or Meredith.
Yeah. But I also think that's important that we're all like, and whether they want to admit it or not, we're all kind of polarizing figures. And I think that's the important thing that we're moving back towards, which was so key in like the original Food Network personality. You either loved this person and their aesthetic and their style, or you could not stand it.
Yeah.
And that's like, we need to start treating food personalities, celebrities, like they're like real people, where it's like you meet someone and you either like them or you don't.
Yeah.
And there's no difference in terms of that. So I said this in my second book, and it was like, I hope you don't like me because I'm not your vibe, and not because like I'm a Jew or I'm gay.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's like I want people who they see it and they get it. There's this. I've said this a million times.
Yeah.
One of my favorite TikTok videos is this girl, and she goes, "This is going to sound like a step back for feminism, but sometimes I feel like my personality gets in the way of people recognizing how hot I am." And what she means by that, which I relate so much to, is that when you have a big personality and when you are very authentically yourself, people don't get the opportunity to project their idea of mystery on someone that they're attracted to, whether that's physically attracted to or you like the way I cook. And the issue is that you get rejection a lot more and a lot faster, but the people who do love
opposite end. You get attraction.
They're
fully in. And it comes down to point of view as well.
Completely.
And having a super strong point of view and not being like middle of the roadsy, which is what we don't want with our cookbook authors, with our television personalities, with our TikTokers.
I literally, on my show, this is like a family show, but I give this thing. There's this one recipe I make. I do this version of Jaime, like the spicy Moroccan fish, but I do it with tofu. And the story is, I met this Danish man in Berghain that I had this love affair with, and he came
up again.
It comes up. I've been since the last time I've been on. I've been 2 more times.
Oh, no way.
But he came to visit, and this was this meal that I made for him on our one night together, and it's such a beautiful little story, and that's the anecdote of where this recipe
it's
comes
just
from.
sitting there on Hulu, right there.
Yeah.
Just a story about meeting.
And I literally say, I was like, for a lot of you, you won't. This will mean nothing to you. But I refer to him as the Viking. I was like, I met this Viking in Berghain, and he was a vegetarian, and so I made this dish for him, and he loved it.
Credit to your producers for letting you do that, or you are a producer and Rachel is a producer for not trying to play middle of the road.
I mean, I'm not going crazy. I sound like I'm doing bumps of ketamine on camera.
But you're saying Berghain on A&E. I mean, I just think that even going back 5 years, 10 years, you're not going to get that on a lot of television programming.
I think I don't really care. I think there was a point in which I did care, and I don't really care anymore because I know that authenticity is the most important thing for me. And as I go through my life, like I know I can always like do another book. I literally, this is a great anecdote. This was last week. I did way too many shrooms and went to the Lady Gaga concert.
Oh,
and
fun.
It was really fun.
But too many
for like, like sometimes I love psychedelics, but this was like, sometimes it's like fire of lights, dancey. And this was like, let's contemplate everything coming up in the next 4 weeks.
With like 40,000 of your favorite new friends.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I ended up having this like real deep introspective moment of like, oh my God, I'm going into another book launch. I was like, do I have it in me to because I go with my heart on my sleeve, and I'm an empath, and I take things very personally, and it's really difficult going through this cycle where I've built a piece of art that I know is magic. Like this book is special, and now I have to convince people that I'm worthy. It's like, no, I am worthy.
I love it.
This book is going to be amazing. So I'm going through this now from a very different perspective. My last time around, and this is the real honesty that I think a lot of people probably don't give in terms of a podcast like this that's so insider baseball, which is my first book did very well, instant New York Times bestseller, and I went into my second a mess because I was so terrified that it wouldn't do well that I approached every step of the marketing and the pre-pub and the post-pub with absolute fear. And I was so miserable during it that when I did make the Times list again, it wasn't like all of a sudden I was happy.
Yeah, it was just like a nothingness feeling.
It was a nothingness feeling because you realize that that's not why you do it. Art is for the artist.
Book twos can be that way.
But also, I'm not going to lie, I think this is this industry. These publishers have put a lot on, and a lot of this has to do with now, it's like you look at all these authors and they're all social native people or any of these personalities that the onus is on them to sell the book.
Yeah.
And do everything possible. And listen, don't get it twisted. Like, I'm hustling.
Yeah, you sure
And
are.
I'll hustle for this one too.
Yeah.
But I'm going it from the thing of, I know how great this book is, and it's going to do well because it's a great book, not because I kill myself trying to convince everyone.
Yeah. It's an important topic we have talked about on the show, and it is we will make the book with you, and then when promotion happens, we have our teams and we have strategies and agencies we work with. But it really is the author's job to sell that book. That's the industry, and don't kid yourself. Like, that's just the way it should be. I mean, I've been
100%.
on tour myself, and it's like you have to do all the things.
We just don't, I think, going into it people don't realize how taxing that is.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the
Nobody realizes
because making the book is so hard.
Yeah, it is.
So hard. And then you add on that, and it's just like, wow. But I love what I do, and this book is amazing. And you'll catch me on Drew Barrymore show and the Today Show.
Yeah, Jake, you're doing it. You're doing the press run. I love it. This conversation, man, it's gone to some cool places. I want to have you back on
Whenever.
I feel like we have to do taste check because like we can't end this show without taste
Let's
check.
do it.
Good night, itchy eyes. Good night, sudden sneeze. Good night to your symptoms of allergies. Zysol is the allergy medicine you take before bed. It provides powerful relief while you rest your head. Not just all night, but all the next day. Zysol keeps working, keeping allergies at bay. And without those annoying symptoms disturbing your rest, you can wake up the next morning feeling your absolute best. Remember, be wise all. Take Zysol. At night.
Vitamin Water Zero Sugar has great taste, zero BS, and obviously, zero sugar. For those with zero room in their calendar. Zero patience for slow walkers. Those who get 0 hours of sleep on a Saturday night. Have zero filter, zero given, and zero interest in grabbing a plain, boring water. Grab a delicious Vitamin Water Zero Sugar today.
On This Is Taste, we ask guests about their certain taste. So to close this interview, here's a little rapid fire, fast and furious taste check. Jake, are you ready?
Yeah.
The best fruit.
Peach.
The worst vegetable.
White button mushroom.
Very specific. Tell me why.
I just think it's never good. I've never had an instance of it being good. It's always either raw on a pizza or it's like soggy in a dish. Like,
Yeah.
I love like fancy mushrooms.
But fancy mushrooms are great.
Yeah.
Preferably cooked.
Yes.
Yeah, raw mushrooms are a tough hang. What is your typical breakfast?
Okay, it's cold brew with protein powder and water shaken up. That's how I start the day, but that's an hour after I wake up. And then it'll be like typically either slop and then some kind of like overnight oat porridge, high protein.
Yep. We all have a slop recipe that we have a go-to.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying. All right, big one. The best dessert.
Oh, tiramisu.
Love that.
Tiramisu, followed by a warm chocolate chip cookie.
Oh, a chaser.
Yeah.
1-2 is perfect. Is there a restaurant you wish you could bring back from the dead?
Wow. Rotisserie Georgette on 60th and Madison. It was a super special place for me. I worked with the first chef, Chad Browse, when we were at Danielle together. He went on, obviously, to become like the king of R&D chefs for different brands. He did Chipotle. He's now at Sweet Green. And then my friend Stephanie took over as chef. So it was one of those super special spots. We did every family occasion. I literally got crazy life moments happen.
Georgette was a really dope place. I'm so happy you bring that up.
Yeah.
And a deep Danielle connection to that place with Georgette. And man, what? They just went away? I don't know the story.
Yeah, closed.
It just closed. Restaurants closed.
Restaurants closed.
This is why we honor them on the show. When you're craving fast food, where are you going?
People argue with me sometimes about if it's fast food, but I eat a Chipotle burrito every week.
Okay.
Every week. And then I would say on top of that, like the one thing I love most in this world, honestly, I'm not even gonna say post-club, any moment, but if I have any substance or a sip of alcohol in me, the only thing I want are chicken fingers. And I've recently discovered Raising Cane's.
Yes.
And I'm in.
I mean, I feel New York is having a moment. We've had it for a couple years now. It's not like a historical restaurant.
No, but we're having you could do a whole episode on this. We're having a chicken finger renaissance.
Oh, no doubt. And Raising Cane's
This is the future of like the adult Happy Meal. It's chicken fingers.
Your favorite city outside America to visit for food?
Tel Aviv.
Yeah.
Tel Aviv is a really special food city. I'll say London right now is having a really great moment food-wise. Paris is not. Everyone was like, oh my God, I'm going to Paris for the food. They're a liar. There are some great restaurants, but most of it's mediocre and you really have to work to get
You got to work
Paris
similar to
now.
Rome. You have to work, put the work in.
If you want.
Yeah.
If you want. It's like when I go to Berlin, I love Berlin. I think it's a great food city. I haven't really explored it because I'm always partying.
Time, yeah.
I was at this other club last time, and it was like 6:30 in the morning. And my friend's like, "I think it's time to call it." And I was like, "No, we can't because Sophie opens at 8:30. So we're gonna go straight from the club to Sophie, the bakery, for breakfast." And that's what we did. And it was the best call I have ever made.
Hey, I mean, writing a piece about clubs and the next 2 hours, the next 4 hours, or something larger. I'm not going to propose something
It's funny because
Jake?
New York Magazine just did that piece. We've reached peak gay sluttiness.
Yeah,
And I think it
good
was
piece.
a great piece. I think it's like, obviously, I just don't think everything in my life needs to be publicized. I think you can hear these little hints and
good.
And that's it.
Thank you for reeling me in with that idea.
Yeah.
I'm so happy you said that.
No. Listen,
Yeah.
it's great. It's a bid for connection. I think intimacy through that, and also the fact of having the afters be the new hot after spot or different bakeries in New York. I love that.
I love it too for bakeries. Last one, your favorite sandwich?
My favorite sandwich is a peanut butter and jelly. I love peanut butter and jelly more than anything in this world. I have it on anything from challah to sometimes, depending on where I am, if they don't have it, I makeshift it. I think it was in the Pines and we didn't have anything, so we had Ritz crackers. And so I literally take each Ritz cracker, I'm individually making a peanut butter and jelly on each cracker. And whatever it takes.
It's a beautiful choice. I agree. Jake Cohen, you're coming back, I hope. I love this conversation. Thank you so much for joining This Is Taste.
My pleasure.
Griffin Owens, Basil Beshkov, this is Taste. Thank you for coming on the podcast.
We are so happy to be here.
Thanks so much, Eliza.
Yeah, I'm really excited to talk about all things yuzu with you. I think that anyone who has been going to cafes or restaurants or bars has probably been seeing a lot of yuzu on the menu. Griffin, I see you sipping on a sparkling yuzu drink right now. And I'm excited to kind of dig into all of that with you. To start, I'm wondering if each of you would tell me if you remember the first time you tried yuzu and what that experience was like for you.
I'll kick it off and get started. So, I think like so many people, I've kind of been aware of yuzu in Japanese cooking for a really long time, but I didn't have a specific like flavor memory of it until I had it in a cocktail in Tulum, Mexico, of all places, and was like, oh my God, this is an incredible flavor. At the time, I was developing beverages, and so I was really like tuned into flavors and was always looking for new things. And that's the first memory that I had where like yuzu specifically stood out as apart from everything else that it was with before.
So much about like globalization of flavors that Tulum is the place where you had it for the first time. What about you, Griffin?
And such a great question. I was such a picky eater growing up. And when I was around 11 or 12, a friend convinced me to try sushi. That was really much more a penne with butter and Parmesan. And the sushi had a yuzu ponzu on it. And it really just blew my mind. And I think from there started to open my eyes up to just, culinary scene beyond simple foods. And experiencing yuzu in that format was really fantastic.
I'm proud of you for moving beyond the buttered pasta.
My whole family is as well.
Yeah, I'm sure. And I mean, we're talking about yuzu being a popular flavor, but I imagine there are probably people listening who maybe are not sure if they've had it before or maybe haven't had it before. And I'm wondering how you would kind of describe if there is a signature yuzu flavor.
I would say that a lot of people are in that boat. Many people are aware of yuzu, or they love it, or they're like, I'm vaguely familiar that this is a citrus. I would just describe it as really addicting. Like it's got all of the best qualities of citrus that I love, and it seems to blend some elements from lots of different types together. I often describe it as like if a lemon had a love child with a mandarin.
Yeah, I think Oro Blanco, like grapefruit, there are kind of other citrus fruits that have a similar kind of fragrance to them, or maybe that kind of herbaceous quality, but maybe like Oro Blanco mixed with Meyer lemon, if I had to guess. But it really is, this heritage Japanese citrus that has its own distinct flavor. And I guess I'm curious if you could tell me about launching Yuzuko in 2023, what made you go from, tasting this fruit, being interested in it, to seeing that there is some kind of like business model to be had?
Long backstory here. My brother and co-founder Nikolai met Griffin and his business partner Marcus one day. This is, couple years back. And at the time I was working at Health Aid Kombucha and I was developing new flavors. And I was, I had this experience with yuzu and I really sought it out, but couldn't figure out where to buy the juice. So it was like on my radar as a thing. And when we met Marcus and Griffin, and they were working on a yuzu project and thinking about, flavor and, the opportunity with yuzu in the same way that, we were, and trying to answer some of the same questions, it became pretty clear that like, oh, we all share a common interest in something that we think needs to be celebrated and promoted. And we don't see anyone else really doing this. So like, I guess that's an opportunity, and it comes from a personal need, right? I was specifically looking to solve a problem that I was experiencing that was preventing me from using, the juice in a product. So we very quickly had a meeting of the minds, and then we're like, okay, cool. I guess we're starting a business.
And what was the first product?
So I just chime in there. It was really interesting. We kind of met each other totally randomly in LA just because we had a love of yuzu, and Marcus and I had a very small brand doing candles and yuzu essential oils, so more on the fragrance side, which is one of the reasons I really fell in love with yuzu. And what we noticed in talking to so many people around LA was just yuzu was super expensive and hard to source. And even if we were kind of paying or subsidizing what yuzu we could find, no one could really afford it to implement into their drink programs, let's say. And so when we met Basil, those insights were kind of shared mutually. And that the first guiding principle or vision rather was that we wanted to make yuzu shelf stable, have great flavor, and cheaper than what was currently on the market.
So that's how we got into Super Juice as like the first initial product that we were making. But very quickly, it became clear that we should also offer 100% juice as well.
Super Juice is a brand name. Like, what is that product? What makes it different than 100% juice?
I'll go ahead and take that one. So when we launched our brand, the conventional advice was really don't do two juices at once. But we decided we would zig where others zagged and said that we do 100% yuzu juice with no additives, just a cold press, really amazing pure flavor that was positioned premium, and then yuzu super juice, which blends up all of the essential oils found in the peel of yuzu and creates what's known as an oleocitrate by adding in citric acid. We also put in malic acid and sugar in terms of our super juice formula. That really extends, instead of one yuzu, you have about 5.5 in our recipe in terms of the juice, because you're diluting it with water and getting in all that amazing flavor from the peels that would otherwise not be incorporated.
So the super juice is kind of like the more like entry level product in some ways.
I wouldn't say there's anything simple about super juice. I mean, it works better in certain applications than 100%. So just to get technical for a second, yuzu has this really high percentage of essential oil in the juice, which makes it very flavorful and is the thing we like, but also can make it really difficult to sometimes work with in take a cocktail concept, especially one that uses a really high percentage of juice. So think margarita, right? So super juice really turns the profile of yuzu into something that looks and plays with like a lemon or a lime, which, are very, very, known to, every bartender. And so it makes it really work in specific formats where you need that acidity and you need a different concentration of flavor.
I guess I want to talk about sourcing with you guys. Where is the yuzu coming from? How have you built the bench of farmers that you're working with?
So yuzu is originally from China, but of course it's really well known in Japan, where the most yuzu grows globally. And we started our relationships going into Japan with a couple different farmers and manufacturers. What's really interesting is in the beginning, it was us doing outreach and kind of working connections or network to find different farmers that met our criterion, which was really, passes food safety regulations and also is unpasteurized yuzu juice, because we wanted the freshest flavor you could get. And that meant not heat treating the juice and bringing in frozen yuzu juice. So we started with a few farmers. Now we have really a network of anywhere from 15 to 20 different suppliers. And we've actually expanded where we also source from Korea now, which is super interesting, and looking at other countries as well, just because the demand of yuzu is so high, and in Japan specifically, there are different problems with an aging labor force and climate change in Japan that makes yuzu's harvest not as good as what they historically were.
We can get into the problems of Japanese farming, but I'll just add that many of the suppliers that we work with, they're not used to exporting to the US. So we're talking like soy sauce manufacturer that makes ponzu sauce and grows some yuzu because they use it in that product and they have extra, and like, what do we do with it? So we're working with a number of suppliers that kind of fit in that bucket, and we're helping them export to the US for often times the first time. And just really going through the process of understanding, what their needs and requirements are, and like how does that line up with what we need, and trying to find people that we think is a good fit. Yeah, so we can get as much juice as we can.
I'd also add that it's an incredibly in-person relationship process. So we're regularly going to Japan and Korea and wherever else to build and maintain these relationships and really learn more about their processes. The yuzu is only harvested once a year. So all yuzu juice is kind of on a pre-order basis. It's not readily available in June. You have to secure it in September, October, and the harvest is in November, December, and it's a very structured process. So you can't really just buy yuzu juice. You have to work really hard to find the right parties that, meet our quality standards, but also work with them to understand their payment needs and so on.
Yeah, I think that like logistic is so interesting. And I'm curious, you're based in Los Angeles. There's obviously a huge citrus business in California, in Florida. Like, have you expanded into US yuzu growing? Is that even happening right now?
We are actively in talks to make that happen, and it is on the long-term vision. I think the main thing to keep in mind when it comes to farming is nothing happens quickly in agriculture. That's a 10-year plus type vision, right? And it has its own variables and problems and things that we'll need to figure out. And I'm sure we'll get there. We're very focused on the immediate, like how do we get like from where we are now to the next 3 to 5 years with the correct amount of supply, and build our business and introduce our products and help really advance yuzu in the US without running risks of shortages or selling out the product in a way that would not feel on brand for what we're looking to do.
Yeah, the shortages point I was thinking about just in terms of, I think, like, especially today with social media driven trends and like the global pantry and the way that people expect to, have basically anything available to them. I know like matcha, for example, is another beverage related ingredient that has been experiencing shortages in Japan. It's been causing a lot of stress on global foodways. Like, how do you kind of like navigate that sustainable growth? Obviously, Yuzuko is a growing brand, but at the same time, there's like people like White Claw and Spindrift that are, putting yuzu in their drinks as well.
So I think we should kind of delineate a couple of different types of situations that we're dealing with here. We'll put White Claw to the side for a minute and focus on the getting the yuzu juice. And I think the first thing is when we talk about shortage or like usage, really it's about availability of the right type of product where and when people need it, right? So that's what we do so much of, is trying to make sure that we're purchasing good quantities of yuzu, onboarding new suppliers continuously, and making it available where and when it needs to be in the formats that it needs to be available to. So take, for instance, just randomly, but like yuzu juice powder is an item that we made for a protein bar customer, but it has all these applications in things that you wouldn't necessarily think of, like, some like alcoholic products are using it. Just having that available helps alleviate a portion of like the experience shortage like globally on the market. And kind of the ultimate goal there is just creating like consistent customers that have recurring demand and make new products that are great and sell well and can, afford the premium that yuzu currently commands, as opposed to, just pushing a flavor that says yuzu and driving the trends and becoming really hypey for a minute and then, people forget about it. That would not be sustainable growth. That could create, some serious whiplash issues that we, think best to avoid by just focusing on, selling to people who are also going to be advancing the flavor in the right places, in the right formats, in the right ways.
Yeah, I'm curious about the powder. Like, how is that developed? Like, what is yuzu powder?
Oh yeah, okay. So let's go there. It's a spray dried yuzu powder. So you mix maltodextrin with whatever your juice source is. In this case, we're using 100% juice. You want to load up that juice with enough maltodextrin that it can run through this big spray drying equipment that, turns it from a liquid into like, a basically powdered version of it. It comes out like powdered sugar. You pack it in bags and it works great in, applications. Like if you were going to make like a salt and you wanted to have yuzu flavor, like it works well there. Seasoning blends, cake mixes, anything that, really you want yuzu flavor, but you don't want water content. Like it works really well for that. And it helps solve a problem, that exists on there, which kind of creates part of that disconnect between like people want yuzu, but they can't find it. We're trying to make it easy for people.
Yeah. I'm curious, like that you said you made for a protein bar client. Like, what are the different kind of main clients for Yuzuko? Is it a lot of like hospitality? Is it D2C?
What's so interesting about us is we really started where our first customers really were this high fine dining crowd. So we give a shout out to Akira Akudo, a longtime guest of This Is Taste as well, who had our yuzu juice with Cohen day one and said, you should really get this to some of my friends, introduced us to some fine dining places. So we started servicing kind of like the John George restaurant group and those kinds of customers, Alinea, which is really fantastic. And I think as we've grown, we've continued to support that side of the business, but we also work with national restaurant chains such as Cheesecake Factory and Goop Kitchen here in Los Angeles, developing custom products for them using yuzu juice as kind of the unique factor that makes us relevant for that kind of customer.
And overall, just talking about like, share of the business, it's right now about a third between like consumer facing products, like hospitality, bars, restaurants, fine dining, and then a third like ingredient sales. But we've seen the most growth coming from the hospitality channel, and that's really where we love to sell. We love seeing people's creation with yuzu, so we are very encouraged by that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting also probably from a marketing point of view, if you are able to have more chefs and bartenders that are using yuzu, then customers are able to kind of experience it there and then maybe want to do something with it at home.
Yes, conceptually, it is a very virtuous circle, right?
We like to say that chefs and bartenders and bakers are kind of like Yuzuko athletes. These are the people who are really the ambassadors and community of our product that are educating the mainstream on what is Yuzu and what is Yuzuko and why we really love working within food service specifically.
And they're doing a very difficult job of translating, a traditional Japanese ingredient into formats and using it in ways that make a lot of sense for the ways that we eat here in the States, and it's pushing kind of our boundaries and our understanding of, where yuzu can go and how the ingredient can be used and exposing a lot more people to it as well.
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. I was, referring a little bit to just the level of yuzu trendiness that we're experiencing right now. And you don't have to name names, but I would imagine that like some of the very big players that are using yuzu, like maybe are not using like pure yuzu juice. Like I don't know if there's an artificial yuzu or an oil or something, but like how can consumers like kind of navigate that and understand like what they're really consuming?
Such a good question, and definitely a potential problem that we talk a lot about, like maintaining authenticity of yuzu as it scales. I think with anything that's expensive and, delicious and has a lot of demand, there's obviously like a huge incentive to just use the name and not really use the product. So the thing I look for when kind of tasting and evaluating things is like, is yuzu juice going into this or like yuzu fruit, or is it natural flavor? And it just says that it's yuzu, but it's really a combination of every sort of citrus essential oil used in a way that someone thought tasted like yuzu, but like really there's no substitute for the real thing. And so like the more of the real thing that we get out there, the more that people will come to learn and understand what the flavor is, and they'll know, you know, people will know what it should taste like when with more experience trying the product.
And consumers are reading ingredient panels more now than I think they ever have. But when you see natural flavors and yuzu natural flavor, you might think that's derived from yuzu. In reality, it's not, and it might incorporate other citrus, but it's not really going to taste like yuzu. And so that's kind of the main problem of why we started Yuzu Co. is to make sure you could steward that authentic yuzu experience. So when people are tasting it, it was the real thing.
Yeah, what is natural flavor like a regulated term? What does that mean?
Well, yes, it is a regulated term, and it specifically covers a large body of compounds that, give basically flavor companies complete discretion over what they put in it, and everything wraps up to natural flavor. So it may or may not contain essential oil. It just needs to be occurs in nature, aromatic compound. So that's a pretty big category that can catch a lot of things in. And not that I have anything against natural flavors, like they can be amazing. They taste great. They're in so many products. It's just with yuzu in particular, yuzu natural, there is not a good yuzu natural flavor. There is yuzu juice, and it really the flavor and the thing that we love, it goes back to the authenticity of the fruit, as opposed to this kind of um, concoction that a food scientist came up with that won't work for this product. And I'm saying that as a food scientist who absolutely is very pro using natural flavors where it makes sense. It just doesn't. It's not here.
That makes a lot of sense. I don't know if you've found yourself having these kinds of conversations, but I'm really curious what it would be like for a Japanese farmer, like food producer who has been like growing yuzu for a long time that now is receiving this kind of interest from the US. What is that like? Do you have those kinds of conversations?
Yeah, I'm thinking of one conversation in particular with one farmer supplier that we work with very closely, where we were just like chatting, like it's quite long drives from the city to the countryside when you get to chatting. It was like, what do you think about like organic yuzu? Like, just what are your opinions on that? And he said it's a trend, and I'm not sure if I'm interested in it. And I said, well, how do you define the trend? He's like, is it going to be popular in 30 years from now? And I was just like, whoa, like that is such a long time frame for anyone to be thinking about. Like, you would, your head would spin at some of the conversations that we have where, people are like all of a sudden coming up and like figuring out what yuzu is and like trying it out. And I think that it would be, some of the, I think, our culture moves so quickly in some ways. In Japan, there's such a deference to heritage and tradition that there would be a little bit of a disconnect between some of the things that we see.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot about I don't know, kale salad or like some of the like really trendy things from 15 years ago. Like maybe people aren't walking around with tote bags that say like don't kale my vibe on it, but like certainly people are still using kale in their cooking. So maybe there is a kind of intermediary place that you can get to.
Well, I think a lot about like we compare, when we're thinking about where yuzu could go, we talk a lot about like look at olive oil, look at avocados, look at, things that once were niche fruits and didn't have heavy usage, which have become ubiquitous staples that we wouldn't, we couldn't imagine what life would be like without them. And I think that yuzu is kind of that fits that foundational category of citrus, right? And we use it in so many places, and it could grow really, really large in that same way. And navigating the ups and downs of the waves of popularity and usage cycle is like that's the journey that we're on.
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. And even just looking at the Yuzuko website, there's kind of a variety of products that you're working on. I'm curious if there's, either anything that like recently came out or that you're working towards that you see as like a new chapter for the brand.
I'd probably point to putting our yuzu juice in cans and entering the ready to drink market, which was very intentionally, a few years after building the core Yuzuko brand values of what we're doing with these pure juices. But how do you really make that consumption driven trend where you're able to enjoy our products, not just at the home and on the go? And so that's really where our waters and our sparkling yuzu aid and then our green tea yuzu aid, we think are the future of Yuzuko really being a more consumer friendly brand instead of focusing just on food service, which we still are going to support and want to grow organically. But chefs already know what yuzu is by and large, and it's just about making it available and having a great product for them at the right price point, and having these ready to drink products really be the face of Yuzuko for consumers.
We've also been pushing peel-based yuzu items like yuzu kosho and candied yuzu peel, which are important byproducts that are not juice, but help utilize the fruit and are important for the processors that we work with. So we've introduced those items recently and been really encouraged to see their reception.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. I think certainly if you're talking about sustainability of like a ingredient becoming more popular, like having the peel, which is delicious and flavorful, go to use as opposed to having it be a byproduct, I think seems like a key part of that.
The more that we can use every part of the fruit, the better it will be for yuzu in the long run.
I guess on that note, to close today, I don't want to make you play favorites too much, but I'm curious if there's a drink or like a dish or even one of your products that is like your favorite way to be consuming yuzu right now.
I've been working with, like in my home cooking, I've been roasting a lot of Japanese sweet potatoes, and I love 100% juice poured all over those. That's been like a really, really easy, low lift, but high impact type recipe, which seems to be, what all my cooking is like these days. So that's the number one thing that I've been working with.
I love that.
And for me, the summer drink has definitely been a Campari soda with a splash of our yuzu juice. It's just a really great and refreshing item.
Wow. Okay. I love that too. Thank you so much for giving me the yuzu rundown. I'm going to go try to drink some.
Thanks for having us on, Eliza.
This is Taste is hosted and produced by Eliza Barbanel and me, Matt Rodbard. The show is edited by lead producer Clayton Gumbert and supervised by Pat Stango, Director of Media Production and Development at Penguin Random House. Thanks to Shalia Harris and the production team at Penguin Random House. Theme music by Steve Rydell. Logo and guest illustrations by Ellie Skurzat. Visit Taste online at tastecooking.com and make sure to subscribe to our newsletter to keep updated on all cool things in the world of taste.